Okay, welcome back, everyone. Let me pass controls to Ken. Let's see. Make host. Okay. All right, Ken, you should have control.
Yeah, let's see if this will let me share. Yay. Okay. How's that looking?
Just right now it's a blank screen.
It should be coming up any second now.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Okay. All right, we got that on board.
Yep, I think so.
Okay. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Phil and Griff sent me a number of questions to answer up front that they'd accumulated since the registration and whatnot started. That motivated me to finish a long-term project, which was to document our professional practice. We sent you, should have been like last week, book number 1 in the swing trade package, which is, in my view, a reflection of professional understanding of swing trading by the rest of the herd. Like, I believe that people that are swing trading are members of a large omnivorous herd trudging across the plains, and they have certain behavioral characteristics when the environment changes. They walk at a steady pace, they sleep at a regular time. When they get scared or frightened, they bolt in any direction. There are periods of chaos and long periods of order. There's quiet, normal, and volatile. They're moving up or they're moving down. But they behave in reliable ways. And what our swing trades are designed to do are to find those moments in which the movement of the herd is more predictable in terms of large sudden moves or certain patterns that repeat themselves a lot. And that's where you get these mechanical patterns in the rules that are designed to harvest those kinds of movements. Excuse me. So book number 1 is a documentation of what I believe are the basic beliefs about swing trading that 99.5% of the market has in their head when they are professionally swing trading. I believe that if you are trading with an edge in psychology, that you must respect and understand what it is that the herd is doing so that you don't get stomped to death, but you can also have a long-term relationship with them. So that's what book number 1 is, to lay out all the ideas behind swing trading in general. This is book number 2, Mechanical Swing Trading, Patterns and Rules. This is where we bring our edges to the swing trading environment and that allow us to take advantage of the repetitive movements of those large herd animals. Large herd animals in the sense of the S&P itself, the large ETFs, the large cap stocks that are moved by large amounts of money and many market participants and behave in reliable ways. So this book number 2 then is bringing our edge to the market. So if you listen to the military strategist and philosopher Sun Tzu, he says the secrets to success are 3 things: knowledge of yourself, knowledge of the enemy, and knowledge of the terrain. So book number 1 represents knowledge of the terrain and knowledge of the enemy. What's the market like? What are the other participants thinking about on a regular basis? This book, book number 2, is about understanding ourselves, understanding the philosophies, practices, and principles found in this tortoise style of mechanical swing trading. So that's what you'll find here. Now, when you are seeking to acquire professional knowledge, it's a long-term process. this professional performance model that I've included in the book, and when you get your book, you click on that little link in the middle or type it in, it's going to take you to a 30-minute discussion of this professional performance model that I use in my own self-development, that I use in coaching traders in our coaching program, that I have been using for a dozen years in developing the leaders in the U.S. Army at the college I teach at to make them better prepared to survive and thrive in combat. It's the model that I use when I'm teaching doctoral students in educational leadership programs how to build programs to develop leaders in their schools and to manage their own development. It's based on the idea of confident communications. And the idea is this. In the first column under discovery, there are three factors that I have observed tend to be contributors to anxiety and public speaking, if I can say it that way. And those are the introverted expert, who is a person that prefers to do work on their own in their own space and do it in writing. And if they have to talk to other human beings, that strange species, they would rather just do one-on-one for short periods of time, and they're really reluctant to speak in public. And it reflects their own personal preference and about how they see themselves. The reluctant leader is reluctant to speak in public because they were probably just promoted into a new position of responsibility that's different than their old expertise, and they don't feel competent yet to be able to speak in public about it. But they've been chosen as leaders by their people. And if the people around you are treating you as a leader, they're not doing it to set you up for failure. They're not lying to you, and they're not stupid. It may be that they see something in you that you don't see. The reluctance is actually a good thing because it keeps you from believing your own press clippings and going off the deep end with overconfidence. So I actually like to see someone who has accepted the role of a leader but is reluctant to do so because they're self-aware of their own limitations. So both the introverted expert and the reluctant leader are anxious when it comes to speaking in public. The third persona is the anxious perfectionist, and that's a person who might suffer from analysis paralysis, who wants everything to be documented to the final degree and have anticipated all the questions and come up with a perfect answer, back tested fully in 9 different ways before they do anything in public. The anxious perfectionist is striving for excellence, but is never satisfied that whatever they've done is ready for prime time. So it turns out that those 3 personas in the discovery phase reflect unconfident communications. Our breakthrough thinking in this area takes the following form. We say that in the external world, when you're talking to people and you are going to communicate in a certain way, the mode and the method and your relationship with that communication is a reflection of your internal self-talk inside the universe of your own head, which starts off with this deep pool of shadow and evil and doubt and chaos in your unconscious, and then slowly moves up into instinct and beliefs and habits and assumptions until you get up to the point where you actually have cognitive thought and beliefs and theories and hypotheses. And the way that you go from the uncertainty to your own knowledge, self-aware knowledge, is a process of internal communication. And if you are unconfident inside your own mind about the things that you know, then that's naturally going to reflect in how you behave externally, whether you're talking to people in public or you're engaging in trading in the public market, which is a reflection of what you feel about what you know. So when we were just working on trying to improve the external confident communications of our leaders, we had to go through some training and development processes that would allow us to overcome some of the consequences of these three personality profiles. And what we discovered was that the way that you help an introverted expert speak in public is to get them into understanding the motivation, the purpose, the intention, and the skills that they possess, and how they can be of service to others, and why it's important for the mission for them to come out of their shell. And the reluctant leader, you teach them to learn how to trust the insights from your circle of trusted companions, making sure that you have a diverse set of advisors and friends who are willing to tell you the truth about what they see. And from that, you can triangulate what you know about difficult subjects. And then by learning to trust them, you're able to move into action in spite of the fact that you may have some self doubts. And then the anxious perfectionists, we learn that good enough is good enough, and that as long as you are protecting your teammates with the limits of your knowledge, saying, hey, don't go off the deep end on the things that I'm telling you, don't overfit, that we can actually publish things soon enough where it gives us an advantage, even though we don't have it at the perfect level of knowledge yet. And then there's the realization that our knowledge is never always perfect forever, because the world is changing around us, and there is an essential adaptation that our understanding needs to go through in order to stay aligned with a dynamic, chaotic world. So that's why there has to be a commitment to continuous learning. Well, in phase one of our model, the discovery phase, we just learn how much of each one of those is part of our internal makeup. And then we can move towards developing skills that allow us to overcome anxiety and hesitation and self doubt. And then we move into the developmental phase where, as a mindful scout, that persona helps us scan our sector, pick the thing that is the most important for us to be learning about, and then apply the principles of the diligent student to acquire that knowledge in the rapidest long-term way that we can, and then to have the persistence and the resilience of a badger who cannot be distracted from their ultimate mission, and who has the thick skin to be able to endure friction and has the teeth and the claws to do the work. Well, as you get over the anxiety and into the development stage, you start building up your own set of resources and capabilities, and you end up moving into the area of high performance, where, as a resourceful catalyst, you bring to the team your own particular refined perspective, a willingness to support each other as a good team member, and a person who can help teams assemble and solve problems creatively. And you treat your learning and the artifacts that you create as a master craftsman. You have an effective professional area to work in. You know how to use your tools properly and safely, one at a time, and how to care for them. You learn how to adapt your tools to new circumstances and opportunities, and you learn how to create tools when there are no tools that solve the problem that you have now witnessed. So the master craftsman is an evolution of the perfectionist and the diligent student. And then all of those folks are in support of the Dharma warrior, which is when you have aligned your inner vision and identity and values towards what is your ultimate mission in the world, which is to support others as a selfless servant so that the people may thrive. And when you are a Dharma warrior and a master craftsman and you're a resourceful catalyst team builder, you are in the zone of high performance. And you bring all of the strengths of the earlier phases, the persistence of the badger, the awareness of the mindful scout to see what needs to be done, the due diligence of a student who doesn't take anything for granted and gets it all documented. And it turns out that all of the things that were initially areas of trouble contribute in a powerful way to our long-term performance. So the introverted expert, rather than being a weakness, is a commitment to learning on your own, doing your own due diligence in your space until you are satisfied with confidence, supported by evidence that your insights are correct. And the reluctant leader is a person who's willing to evolve into the Dharma warrior, retains the humility and a keen awareness of their own limitations, but who's able to use the resourceful catalyst to fill in the parts of your team to cover your weaknesses so that your strengths can continue to lead us towards victory. And the anxious perfectionist, rather than being paralyzed by data, is actually a reflection of your commitment to excellence and getting it right and understanding the consequences of what happens if you take shortcuts or don't do due diligence. So, what we learn in the development of this model is that what started off as weakness was really just one side of the coin, and we could develop strengths in those areas and then continue to use those habits of mind until we were into the high performance. Now, along the way, we also recognize that we need teachers, coaches, and mentors. And oh, by the way, when we're on a member of a team, we actually perform those functions for others as a way to support them on their individual development. So if you want to be a good student, you also have to learn how to be a good teacher of others. And if you want to be a good teacher, you have to model the behavior of good student. And to be a mentor is to help people remember the importance of their final mission and the thing that we're doing all the work for. What is it that we're trying to achieve? And is it connected to who we are as a person at the values and identity level? Now, inside of that performance model, it's nice to get better, but the trail boss part, my guide and my executive agent, is the one who's monitoring our actual movement towards the land of milk and honey. And so while we're going through all of this performance stuff, which is fun and enjoyable and learning, we've also got to produce results. And so the trail boss is there to make sure that we are safe and alive and secured and protected, that we're building out the team and that we're managing all of these guys here in the trusted companions who act as specialty advisors like spirit animals, systems thinking, hypnotherapists, holistic coaches, etc. This is my personal list of advisors who are helping me as needed on my journey of self-development. Now you can hear that speech at that link in a coaching session where I'm explaining that to one of my coaching students. But this is the model that I use for myself, my Army officers, our traders, and my doctoral students. So I wanted to include that because I respect the fact that the work you're about to do to study these templated systems in a systematic way with a powerful tool like EdgeRater is going to represent a significant learning and development process. And I want to respect the work that it goes into doing that correctly and just tell you that's not an overnight thing. That if you want to do the work, then you need a way to manage that work over a long time so that you lock in all the persistent advantages. Now, what I want to say in the rest of this 300-page book, oh my goodness, this is what I want to say about that. Let me highlight the sections, and I want to show you what's in that book that we're sending to you. Hope Phil and Griff, I sent that to you already. Maybe get that distributed. And I want to fit the knowledge of this book into the mechanical swing trading that we're talking about here. The introduction and purpose section is really me acknowledging that what I'm trying to do here is get this stuff out of my head and out of our little private chat rooms and all that and documented in public in black and white so that you can see what we're doing so that it may help you in your journey towards surviving and thriving with swing trading. Pages 4 through 15 was an exercise I did with my hypnotherapist and my AI writing partner, who I have trained over the last 18 months to explore the recesses of my dark and evil mind and make sure that I'm considering all of those inner features through these powerful lenses of systems thinking, organizational development, ethics, holistic human, medicine man, etc. And what I learned in doing that was that I had to get over my anxious perfectionist, my reluctant leader, my introverted expert. And so the standard disclaimer says, look, I still have those three parts of me that have made me reluctant for 30 years to write this book. But I now realize that it's time to get that stuff into the public space. And I think of it as version 0.8, meaning that it's really close to perfect, but not quite. And it has a bunch of extra material that we give you in pieces and parts so that you can help move it to version 1.0 and 2.0 in a way that is personally adapted to you. So rather than trying to make one perfect book that fits everybody, we give you the basics and the additional pieces to help you make it perfect for yourself or useful to yourself because you want to avoid the perfectionist bias. Pages 18 and 19, I talk about how we organize our chat room and our community of practice in order to do collaborative learning. So if you thought about an elephant in the middle of the room and you arrayed 6 people around it, each with a different point of view, each one would see and feel and smell and hear a different part of that elephant, and every one of them is correct from their point of view. You, as an individual right here, it would take you 5 years to learn everything that those other people knew to the first order of magnitude. And only then, after 25 years of study, could you replicate what it is that they know collectively and corporately. So rather than do that, doing it as the Lone Ranger, it's better to establish your collaborative learning group that is diverse in perspective and communicates in a common language with a commitment to everybody's thriving and integrity and honesty, and collectively learn about these elephants in the middle of the room, the trades, the markets, whatever it is that we're happening to learn. So the overview of the chat room and the community of practice describes the way that we organize and the values and principles that we follow when we're doing our collaborative work. The zero state meditation is a 1-page mental emotional state exercise that allows me to get rapidly into the perfect mind state and emotional state to do learning, to do research, to do trading. The market classification system is the 1-page recipe that Phil showed you how to do the bull, sideways, bear, volatile, normal, and quiet. And it describes the process, the recipe for doing exactly that. Pages 22 through 27 is how I describe the use of statistics in swing trading. And it happens to reference the TC 2000 bundle. But everything that I do with the TC 2000 bundle in terms of statistics and classification is reflected in EdgeRater already anyway. And so it turns out that the insights from this section about how I use statistics for swing trading is equally applicable for EdgeRater as it is with TC 2000. It's the mindset of descriptive statistics that gives you a persistent advantage when you're trading with the herd. If you take a look at the herd of other swing traders, they get moved by fear and greed and surprise. And they don't like math. So if you can be directionally neutral and make decisive information from statistics into your decision making, If you can use simple math and you can be directionally neutral and you can achieve the zero state and you have a trusted tribe of others, that is what the persistent long-term edge for you is. And that's why this section is important, because it talks about the use of statistics. Pages 28 through 37 was the original foundational document of the regression line crossover system and framework, and how we applied the statistics of the regression lines and the Bollinger Bands directly into swing trading. From that, we were able to develop a number of other patterns that eventually became the sniper patterns that you see. But it turns out that when you apply the RLCO framework to the mechanical systems that we're teaching you in this course, this is the source of improvements over the basic mechanical rule set. So when you are ready to start getting more out of your chosen systems, that section is going to help you understand how our way of marking up charts with the regression line crossovers and the Bollinger Bands and the Dragon and all that jazz, how you can use that to dramatically improve your performance. Pages 38 through 40 is one of my long-term students giving testimony about what he learned about swing trading and life by doing the intern program and the coaching program. He's a C-suite operations executive in a software company who has now become a professional trader in addition to his other professional work. And this is a summary of what he learned, and it's well worth reading that as a vision of where our educational programs and our approach to the markets can take you. This one, 41 and 42, is another version from a different kind of guy, but who also is relating how he personally uses the chat room and the community of practice to assist him with the lonely art of trading. 43 through 45 was an executive summary that I wrote for the super traders at VTI to show them how I use this vast collection of techniques and organize it for my own particular trading implementation. 46 through 49 goes into even greater specific detail about how you can use swing trading strategies for target selection for shorter term trades. Like Marcus, you were interested also some of the intraday trades. It turns out that the techniques of max pain range compression and auto framer are a great way to find targets that can give you a 1 day pop, like the first day of the swing trade moving out. So this section tells you how you might pick a swing trade strategy here that you like, and you can use that for leverage to get some intraday additional goodness. This student note documenting a statistically normal day was a professional trader who took a look at how we use statistics to organize our understanding of the maximum intraday reasonable move, the frog boxes and all that other jazz. But it's an application of how to use statistics to look at the idea of a normal day. So if a normal day for your symbol looks like this, we can say that that is a standard day from a descriptive statistics basis, because we went back 30 days, because you have to have 30 data points to have statistical significance. And from that study of the last 30 days of its range, where it opened and where it closed and the high and the low and the percent that it moved and how much was signal in the real body and how big were the tails, all of those things described statistically give us ways to assess what a standard day for your target is. So we want to trade a symbol when it is in a non-standard mode. When, like a doji, it has compressed to a small squeezed spring ready to explode in either direction. Or we like to see that that thing has had an abnormally directional move already, max pain, and is also compressed into a doji. And now that thing is radioactive and ready to explode. And if that doji explodes out of its little box in this day one, maybe that's going to attract some momentum. And then on day two, it continues. And day three, it continues. And pretty soon, from that original doji, you end up getting a day by day swing trade that you've been able to stay with from the day that it started as a doji or as the original signal from one of these mechanical signals. So, the idea of a statistically normal day is central to the connection between intraday trading and swing trading, because even though you can do those things independently, it turns out that good swing trade candidates make excellent day trading candidates. There's information value in the swing trade setup. And by the same token, a day trade that really works well with a large range day is certainly going to attract attention and could be the beginning of what is a good swing trade. So, this ability to move between day and swing trading is what we call hybrid or adaptive trading. And it turns out that the building blocks to understand those, it's best to start with these mechanical patterns that we're showing you in this swing trade that have a statistical validity to them based on your back testing and forward trading. And now you can start getting the benefit of this virtuous circle. It also turns out that your long-term position trading, like asset allocation into relative strength leaders, has the same relationship with swing trading that swing trading has with day trading. That long-term persistent momentum winners in long-term relative strength turn out to be really good candidates for shorter-term swing trades. And it's also true that when you get swing trades that refuse to lose, they can end up growing into longer-term relative strength leaders that can last for months and quarters and years. So it turns out that the same hybrid trading that we can do between day and swing is parallel to the hybrid trading we can do between swing and long-term position trading. Swing trading is the central connecting transmission that allows you to align all of these time frames, and then you can start putting that into a meta system that allows you to use these fractal patterns and common ways of looking at the market to organize and synchronize your trading in every dimension. That's what we mean by a system of systems and by hybrid trading. The gateway to that is this course and the technical frameworks that EdgeRater and the RLCO frameworks, the OWL bundle gives you. Now, so those first 52 pages get you through what I think of as the setup, as the context to understand these mechanical swing trade patterns relative to the other things that we do. The next sets are all of the system descriptions for 5-day down, channeling and overreaction, triple screen, washout, etc. That's where there's a 8 or 10 page precise mechanical system definition that we've been using for well over 15 years, and which is the basis for rules-based execution of the trades in that way. So you can trade these things as written in those patterns. You can test those rules using the EdgeRater as Phil and Griff are showing you. You can also adapt those things for other purposes, but it starts with a deep understanding of what it is that system is supposed to achieve. Page 98 begins a summary of statistics-based indicators for swing trading that goes above and beyond the indicators that we use for those patterns. This is where you start learning about the elements of the RLCO framework, how we can start taking those things and applying them to these systems in a way to get even more information about the status of each of those traits. So if you're trying to do more, then you need to bring these other sets of lenses and tools, even though you can trade these things as written mechanically and as tested in EdgeRater, which is fine. 98 and 28 through 37 tells you how we try to get more out of all of those opportunities. Page 101 is a design document that I wrote. I've asked two of my trusted advisors. One is a hypnotherapist who is a certified hypnotherapist and a great trader and has been a student of mine for 15 years. I asked her to start thinking about offering what she does for me to other people to help them with mind states and visualization. The dialectical behavior therapy is a form of using narrative and storytelling to be able to rework the stories of your experience into more positive directions in order to influence your behavior. I'm taking elements of both of those, and just last night I made an agreement with a certified EFT practitioner who I've been working with for a while. That is emotional freedom technique. What that does is uses physical tapping to interrupt the subconscious mental processes that generate fear and anxiety. It disrupts those patterns, takes the energy and excitement out of it, and allows you to come to a trade-off space where it does not influencing your behavior in the world. It allows you to shift the energy of anxiety into the energy for improved performance. So if we were to think about our psychology in this way, that dialectical behavior therapy and training allows us to work with the conscious mind to change our behaviors. We can use systems and systems thinking and templates, our tools, to put us into safe spaces to do work with leverage. And in the unconscious space, we can use this emotional freedom technique plus hypnotherapy in order to short circuit these negative consequences and allow us room to develop positive behaviors that are organic and which then allow us to proceed up the scale of improved performance. So in pages 101 through 103, you end up seeing the principles of the dialectical behavioral therapy, which is kind of the odd and unusual part of that trinity, which is the use of intentional language and self-talk. And you'll see that that is strongly connected to that confident communication model I described earlier and the professional performance model. It's the way that you are conducting your internal communications, your self-talk, which allows you to operate from forgiveness and gratitude to build effective practices that can be locked into habits and systems later on. So it starts with that inner work of psychology. And then what I decided to do in order to give you the spare parts that you need is pages 104 to about 300 is a complete set of home study slides that I have accumulated over the 25 years that I've been teaching swing trading at the Van Tharp Institute. This is the most current set of the database of slides that I ever use to answer questions about swing trading and to teach these systems as well as the hybrid systems and some of the other ones. So what you have is a set of about 200 slides that are like flashcards for study. or they are a process recipe, or it's a snapshot of a trade, or it's words on a page. So all of those things are in that slide deck and avail. Now, most of them you can just, if you have any kind of trading skill at all, you can look at them and sort it out, or it becomes the basis for asking a good question or giving me an artifact that I can use to help you understand what it means. And in those pages of the book, there's always room for the slide and then a blank area for you to make notes or whatever it is that you might want to do. So I wanted to provide that in there so you could get a comprehensive look at the entire world of swing trading as we teach it and as we approach it. What I wanted to say, just in passing, was that uh, this is the first year that I've started intentionally, actively coaching, as I have been able to offload my anxious perfectionist workload on these things to Phil and Griff, who have made it better than the way I teach it, to be honest. That has allowed me some time and space to do more on coaching, which allowed me to put together finally this performance model and communications model. And so we've got three uh, coaching cohorts going on right now. One that started in January, one in April, and one in June. The next one that is going to start is I'm going to start that in October. There's early registration for that. Plenty of time for you to sort all that out if it's of interest to you. You get lifetime access to the coaching. You get access to the recorded coaching sessions that I've done with all of the other cohorts, and you will continue to get access to the coaching sessions of all future cohorts. That's one of the preconditions of doing the coaching, is that we're in this together and learning to row well and live. So if that's something that might appeal to you, you got plenty of time to evaluate all this stuff and to check out the samples of it that are on my website and on Patreon. And as you explore the model, I want to give you plenty of time to sort all that out while you get on with your primary purpose, which was to understand how these mechanical systems, how they work, how you can use them, how you can use EdgeRater to test them, and also to use them as an ongoing trade finder and trade framer. I think there's a complete professional repertoire and tool set just in EdgeRater. And what I really like about it is that it allows my students to achieve information independence from my reports. Because as a reluctant leader, one of the things I've always worried about is people relying on my reports to set them up for success and not understanding the depth and being able to recreate that on their own and adapt it to their own use. And I had a heart attack last August. God willing, and the river didn't rise. I came through that rejuvenated, reborn, in a better place. But I'm 67 years old, and I think it's part of my mission to ensure that you have a complete understanding of what it is that I do and all the tools that you need in a variety of methods to allow you to achieve your objectives in the world and to create an ongoing community of practice that's consistent with the principles that we have espoused for 30 years, in which I intend to hand off to somebody when they're ready so that we can continue that effort going forward. So that's what I want to say about this book. You have book number one, which is my estimate of what a good professional swing trader on the other side of the trade from you already knows. You better respect those guys, and you respect them by understanding what it is that they look at and how they look at the market in different ways. In book number two, I'm describing particular circumstances in which I think we have a persistent edge in swing trading. And just in those areas and in the way that we do them. I'm not saying that's the only way to trade. I'm just saying that's the way we trade and why we think it works. And you can see the evidence that it does work. So that's what I wanted to say about that book. And I'm ready to take questions for about another 10 minutes before I have to get out of here and and go see my daughter, who we're going to celebrate her acceptance into med school, which starts on Monday. And this is her last free weekend for the next 7 or 8 years. So I've got to be moving it in about 15 minutes to do that. I will not fail in that mission. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. What I'd really like for you to do is, as you digest all this material that's come at you sort of in a, like a machine gun or a fire hose, is that you develop the deliberate questions that you'd like to hear me address in greater detail next Sunday and beyond. I'm ready to do, another 2 Q&A sessions after Sunday for anything that develops over, let's say, the next month. So let's plan on, Phil, you pick a couple, like Saturdays in August. So if they want to do any additional follow-on questions with me, they can do that. And that still allows them, if they're interested in the coaching later on, to do that. I'm not trying to pressure you on that. I hate pressure. And I don't believe in the order before midnight tonight and all that. So you guys will have first crack at filling up the cohort for the October start. And the sooner you sign up for that, by the way, the sooner you can start on your own and start reviewing what the other guys are doing. Your clock won't start until 1 October. So you'd end up getting a couple extra months anyway. So I believe in over delivering. So that's everything I wanted to say. I'm looking for any other specific questions that you might have of me right now before I go get ready for the, if you find typographical errors, I'd like you to know that I intentionally placed them there to see if you were paying attention, and also to acknowledge that perfectionism is not possible. But if you would send them to me, please do, and then I'll fix them anyway. But at some point, you can't even see the page anymore, and inevitably there's errors in there. So we try to keep it going. Okay. Any other questions before I turn it back over to Phil and Griff and let you guys get on with the rest of the day? The YouTube channel, by the way, youtube.com, Ken Long Tortoise, has about 5,000 publicly available videos that just describes our nightly standard practice. So there's you can see what that's all about. Patreon.com, Ken Long, has hundreds of freebies there too. So, and tortoisecapital.net for even more goodies. So feel free. I feel like I've done my duty and laid it out on the free sample table for our little roadside stand on the way to the Spiral Mountain of Excellence behind me there. This is the little rest area right here. And that's the mountain you got to climb. But there's all sorts of food and comfort inside our little hut there, and you can stay there as long as you want as our guest. There's water over here in the well. There's other mountains to climb, but the next one you see is that Spiral Mountain of swing trading. So that came out of the hypnotherapy session. Yeah, kind of Rivendell-ish in many ways. Elrond ain't bad. You could do worse than Elrond. Bilbo found a home right there, so that's pretty good. And he took care of Aragorn on the quest. So that's all right. All right, fellas. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to turn it back over to you, Phil. I got to hit the road now. I sent Phil and I sent you guys the file for that book.
Yes.
If you get that distributed.
Yes, it's posted into the Ruzuku team room
Okay.
for the students.
Even better.
Under the resources section,
Yeah.
there's the ebook number 1 and 2.
Hey, that's a pretty good. I'm just saying I put that up for sale just this morning because I finished it this morning, and other folks are paying $197 for that, and I feel like that's properly priced. So
Yeah, great.
I
Thanks.
appreciate the trust and confidence you guys have put into us and your willingness to do the hard work. I recognize fellow introverted experts when I see him, so I feel like I'm at home. So you guys take good care. Have a great, safe rest of your weekend, and I'm going to go celebrate with my daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks very much. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Yep.
Ken.
Ciao for now.
All right. Let's briefly discuss next session's agenda. So let me I'll share the screen and then have Griff speak to it. Um, okay. Oh, Griff, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so next Sunday, we'll meet at the same appointed times, and session 2 is really going to be about practical implementation. We'll probably start out with some question and answers, because I'm sure some stuff will come up over the space between the sessions. And then once we get everyone's questions answered, we can then go into the lessons. We're going to talk about mechanical versus discretionary trading. We'll talk about adding discretion appropriately. That's going to be what Ken was just referring to, that kata challenge framework, or also known as the RLCO, all those unique indicators we use and how we decipher all that and make some good decisions using that. We'll talk about money management, position sizing. We'll get through into then finish the preparation stage with some talks about mental readiness. And all this is kind of going to be kind of specific things. Because to me, when I first started trading, or whenever I learned something, I was like, okay, now how do I actually use that? And it's kind of meant to fill in all those holes that we sometimes have in our learning. So lesson 12 is kind of going to be that big lesson in a way where we're going to go through some bar by bar trade examples of some different ways to trade these, using kind of just like the edge rater does, in the back test, like mechanical entries and exits. And we'll also show some examples with the kata 2 long pattern, as well as how to kind of goose the results with some discretionary exits using that same framework. And then finally, it'll be trade assessments, the all-important assessment, which is kind of, at least for me, when all of our learning and improvement happens. And we'll go through kind of the standard work we do for that. And to have an example, we'll go through a swing trading back test on edge trader, and then some ideas for improvements, sample set analysis, and we'll finish it off with an open floor for questions and clarifications with Ken again.
Great. Any questions about next week? All right.
So
Okay,
Griff,
thank you.
Griff, I had a question. So the Kata 2 will be using the daily candles as the for the bar
Sorry,
bar analysis.
I didn't hear the question. What was it?
For the bar analysis, will you be using the daily candles?
Yeah, correct. It'll be on a daily time frame. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you have a chance to please try using EdgeRater to do scan and back testing, and let us know if you have any questions. To please post your questions to the discussion. And also, if for you to copy the trade log, Griff will be covering that next time we meet. If you do not have access, please let us know. And so I captured 3 follow-ups. One was a question about logarithmic scale. The other slippage and NOR gate data. Are there any others which came up which we should follow up on?
There's a question in the chat, Philip.
Yeah, there's a question, is when and where will the recordings be posted?
Okay, it'll be posted as soon as after we end this meeting, assuming that we don't have a problem with the recording. So it should be done by the end of day today. Yeah, so it'll be posted. Let me bring up. So all of you should see this view here. The course. And so we would go to session 1. So the very first lesson, you'll see the recording here. Recording 2 will be in lesson 2 and so forth. So assuming we don't have a problem with the recordings, they should show up by the end of day today. Okay, so if
Another question, where can I get a list of the ETFs that you use in the Able Tech ETF list?
okay, yeah, I'll yeah, show it. Yeah, I'll include it in the discussion ETF list. I thought it should be on the slide. Maybe not, but yeah, I'll post it separately in the discussion, the ETF list. Any other questions? Okay, so if some questions come up, please post it to the discussion. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for enrolling and attending in this course. And I'll see you all next week on Sunday. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, thank you. Stop share.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Stop.
Thanks, Phil and Griff.
Yes, thank you.